Greetings, as I, Tempest Narragansett, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more. Are you ready to dive into the Pathfinder role-playing game system at World of Golarion? I hope you are. Whether, of course, you're joining me live over there on Twitch, hello Twitch, or, of course, if you're joining me later on YouTube when these videos go up there. Hi, YouTube, hello, please remember to appease the dark algorithm, like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. Today, I'm going to ask the question, Oprak. Because that's where we're going to today with our details. Have you done an adventure there? Did you do the Ironfang invasion? Or have you used it as a backdrop post-Ironfang in 2nd edition? Possibility. But yes, it's a very relatively new country that's only existed for, I don't know, 7 years? So we're going to be getting into details about it, because there's some information here on a nation formed out of an army, and the first of the Hobgoblin nations. Anyway, why don't we talk about sources? Because I like talking about books and stuff that you can go to look into this information, because, you know, that's always a good place for research on your own if you want to. And, of course, the Ironfang invasion. I'm not going to lie, the Ironfang invasion and most of the books within it are probably a great place to look for it. I just showed off the player's guide here, but the entire thing deals with the formation of Oprak. So, probably the last book is where you're going to really go to, and the canonical end is, you know, what we're going to be talking about here. Because, again, everybody that plays these adventure paths, especially ones that deal with nations or places, have a canonical ending, though your ending might be different. Keep that in mind. And then we have the Lost Omens character guide, the Lost Omens world guide, and the Lost Omens Legends books, all from 2nd edition, deal with stuff from Oprak. Legends deals with the leader of Oprak, and the others deal with what's going on in the nation. There's his flag. Let's talk a little bit about Oprak. Because, again, I'm going to tell you now, boom, 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 boom. Spoilers for Ironfang Invasion. But if you're coming up here, you're assuming you're, you know, not done it. You're not going to play it. It's the first edition adventure. So its capital of this area is Hunthul. And its ruler is Azersi, with the military dictatorship. And the language, of course, there is Goblin, with the main religion of Hodagrash. Okay. Also known as the Eye of Dread, Vasti. It is a new nation that achieved statehood through the struggles of the Ironfang Legion, which was a formidable Hobgoblin army under the command of General Azura. That's why it's a military dictatorship. She carved out this territory. Their attacks ravaged northern Mothun and southern Nirmath during the year of 4717. Talk about what happened post that, what led to the formation here in just a second. But if we look at geographically, its territory is carved from a sparsely populated, forbidding 300-mile section of the Mindspin Mountains between Middle and Nearthus, carefully excluding the dwarven sky citadel of Kragagar. However, unknown to most, Oprak also extends into the plane of Earth by way of the vault of the Onyx Citadel, which is even bigger than its territory in Golarion. 5 entrances to the stone roads that connect the Onyx Vault and Golarion exist across Oprak, the largest being the Obsidian Tower and the newly established capital of Hunthul, and another that has been established in fellow Hobgoblin nation of Kowlin in TNZ. So they do have a way of a portal connecting there, but it is going to show that this nation exists across, basically, planes. Hagrash, if you just want to mention, is one of the Hobgoblin hero gods. So, Hunthul mostly is pretty much Hobgoblins, large city. We don't know a lot about it, but it's where the largest connection with the Onyx Citadel is located. So, if we want to know about the history of Oprak, it really deals with the Ironfang invasion more than anything. And the entire thing is a relatively simple story in a way. The adventure is Azuri and her Ironfang Legion earned an early reputation and as a Mothun non-human mercenary company. So Mothuni, I've done a video on Mothun that they do have mercenaries. She attracted all kinds of she attracted all the recruits from Mothun she could. She went rogue and led her army to Nearthus. With the help of the Onyx Key, they conquered the vault of the Onyx Citadel. She created dimensional portals to any location she chose, allowing her easily to move her supplies and troops. But in 4717, when they launched a simultaneous invasion of Mothun and Nearthus, took much of the southwestern region of the latter nation, a group of Normanthi adventurers raised a militia against them, and then convinced Arasari that warmongering would be nothing but ruin to her people. She was exhausted by war herself, and decided to withdraw to the Minespan Mountains and establish Oprak as a nation that hobgoblins and other monster races could call home. So basically it's... in the canonical story, you don't technically super defeat her. You basically draw them to exhaustion, the battle, the war is kind of like going, and it's like, hey, look, you're smart enough to see that this will lead to your ultimate defeat. And she's like, you know what, you're right. So she withdrew to the territory they could control, and basically created a nation, and then explained in the plane of Earth where they could call something their home a lot more than in Golarion. Interestingly enough. Now that's the Vault of the Onyx Citadel. Isn't it really cool looking? So of course, Oprak's founder, General Azursi, had maintained her Ironfang Legion as Oprak's army. So the Legion is now the army of the nation. But she shifted the focus to economic development and currently seeks to avoid war. Due to the nature of the Onyx Vault, Oprak is relatively safe from the threat of the Whispering Tyrant. She is assisted in ruling country by the Enclave Council, who advised her not to claim the free dwarven city-state of Pragadun in fear of antagonizing them. Basically, they left Pragadon, the city-state, on its own, and not claim it part of Oprak. Because they're like, yeah, look, man, we know we're in a position where we could keep the fighting going, it would just destroy us. We would fall. We can make a nation here, keep these guys separate, they're their own free territory, they're kind of separate from us, we can keep it safe. Pragadun's on their border. There you go. Pragadon. Now, for a nation that's very new, and carved out by war, and a bunch of people that are oftentimes looked down upon, sorry hobgoblins, you really are, they have been doing a lot of things to build foreign relations nearby. They struggle to establish themselves around the powers around them. Azura is well aware that despite her military triumphs, the nation may well collapse if stability is not achieved, and stability requires nation building and diplomacy. She maintains a fairly aggressive posture towards other nations, practically daring them to contest their independence. Immediately after their foundation, representatives of the Umbral Court, a mysterious group of mysterious rulers of neighboring Niddle, recognized its independence and agreed to a 3-year non-aggression pact. Nerapath's Forest Marshal Daniyalis has followed and agreed to 4 years of peace in hopes the hobgoblins would look to Niddle first for if they do try to do any military conquest. So, yeah. In 4720, 3 years after their establishment, Azura established diplomatic relations with the Pathfinder Society, which is the organization that they hoped they could use as a useful ally. Remember, Pathfinder Society is very, I would say, chaotic good in their nature, but they are very much about adventure. They aren't necessarily that. You definitely have Pathfinders of all alignments, but they have certain codes and ethics to them. So a group of hobgoblins were selected to travel to Absalon for evaluation and training by the Society. Hopes they would learn more about they would learn more about hobgoblins' golden cultures, and these hobgoblins would learn more about the outside world. And as of 4721, Oprak has recently established contact with the golf course hobgoblin city of Brackenlow in the Darklands below TNZ. And realizing the importance of diplomacy in Oprak's survival, General Azrai has begun emphasizing political skill among her high-ranking officers. Now they have their regulatory military routine, which is very important, but they also drill in manners, social niches, knowledge of local customs, and generally being charming. And they, like many hobgoblins, undertake this training with the same dedication and brutal military discipline as any other trainings, including harsh punishments and absence of skill. So, they're always this harsh military organizer, but now they're also being like harsh military diplomacy training. Now, as for the other nations, Ardak of the Hold of Belkinson has sent emissaries to Oprak, hopes of forming an alliance, both to establish the legacy and to create a united front against the Whispering Tyrant, but the negotiations are slow and drawn out. Azra remains cautious as she feels out whether the orc overlord is enough to control his own group. Because she has military control of hers, but orcs, with power, they're a little more savage, She acknowledges that support from other monster nations does fit with her goal of being recognized as an important thing. Because they are called monsters to others a lot of times. So she sent a few military advisors to help organize them and gain intel also. So, the Cluster of Druma is a potential free trade partner, hoping markets and using the Stone Road to open up interest, though. She's often loath to offer this resource to human nations, though, but Druma is a very good place. Cheliax, there's some ideas of treachery, but a good alliance. The Gravelands, formerly known as Waswall, has sent diplomats and knights to Oprak to seek to support her cause. Azra sees an opportunity, since desperate neighbors make for grateful allies in the future. No formal agreements with the people that were driven from Lastwall. Cowling, as I mentioned, she has good relationships because of the use of the Stone Road, though the vast distances. She perceives that as a good example of a stable goblinoid nation, and both parties have benefited from trade greatly. There are some cultural and political tensions that remain, but it's generally pretty good. They basically have established a stable nation there. Mothun, yeah, not good. I talked about Nithil and Miracles. And Quadri is a potential trade partner, too. So. Economy. We should talk about that a little bit. And then who lives here to finish up today and talk about Oprak. Because again, this is a new nation talking about its neighbors and how it relates to them is a very good point in showing how they work. So, it's an independent country. Its economy does rely heavily on the fact it's in mountains and connected with the vault of the Onyx Citadel to the plane of Earth. And the export of precious ores, metals, and gems from this region is a big part of it. Since the end of their military expansion, Oprak has turned its military approach to economic matters, with squadrons and formations devoted to crafts and trades like alchemy, agriculture, mining, and smithing. Their military tendencies have colored these endeavors, with masters driving their apprentices with the same brutality that their generals drove troops in battle. Thanks to massive advantages avoided them by the Onyx Key, and their trade routes crisscrossing the plane of Earth, they have basically grown into a surprising economic powerhouse. So hobgoblins are the main people there, but other creatures who seek jobs in the industries have flocked there. They do seek to tame the vault of the Onyx Citadel and negotiate with the elemental natives to mine resources of the plane of Earth, too. So it's sort of like, they do have to negotiate with the elemental creatures there, because that's not a very easy place to conquer. They are not elemental creatures on the plane of Earth. It's a lot more difficult. So seeking kind of connections with them is good, and getting some people that are coming in here. It is a monster nation, getting more monstrous creatures that might be willing to work with them and under their newly established laws and orders might be good there. Some might be willing more than others. That's the kind of thing. But other hobgoblins certainly could come to the nation and swell its numbers as a place of stability. That's Oprak. And certainly we don't have a huge amount of details because it's a nation that's 7 years old. Of course we're not going to have a lot on it. There's not a deep and rich history, and the region is still not super established. Hunthal is a newly established city there. It is very new. It's got a good population, but there isn't a lot there, so we don't know a lot about it. It's one of those things that the more information we get is better, and we might see developments in the source of the adventures. But if you consider it's a new place anyway. It's probably not well established. It's not got the same kind of infrastructure as some of these major nations around it that have existed for centuries. But even after all their struggles, even after their wars, this nation of people that were originally turning from mercenaries to conquerors have conquered something. Mountain range. And they have found a place of their own. And yes, they have a brutalistic regime to them. They are a military dictatorship. But it's the way that hobgoblins kind of always have been. They're military, and they're taking that strict military regime to everything they do in a nation, establishing it. And certainly connecting up with another goblinoid nation across the world has helped them begin to learn and develop into something new and different and better for their people. This is a stability that hobgoblins didn't have before that is finally building onto something great for them. The Ironfang Legion, as much as it was massive war, has carved probably a chance for a better future for hobgoblins than they had any time in history, except for maybe in places like TNZ, where they have a stable nation. But in this area, in Bastion, they haven't had this opportunity. It's been military, mercenaries, wars, with no end and no true goal and that could actually be appeased with the nature of things around them. Now there is goals, there's a building for stability, and their leader sees a path to a future for her people. That's a really interesting thing. Certainly speaking, there's a lot of directions that Oprak can go at this point in time. The militaristic nature of hobgoblins is not something that would easily go away. Definitely. It's definitely something very much ingrained into their cultural and identity. And the culture here in Oprak is an extension of that. But we may see further evolutions and further development, especially in a region where there's a lot of trouble. As much as they are a little bit less threatened and stable in comparison to some other places with things like the Whispering Pirates still in the region, a very powerful threat. There is a possibility of something. And the deals and connections they've been going to make are going to be important. Them reaching out to the Pathfinder Society is a pretty big move. That's a pretty big, because there are countries that keep the Pathfinder Society out because they tend to meddle sometimes in things, especially in a lot of ways. But the Pathfinder Society wants to learn from them, and they feel like they can learn from them. And the fact that they are open to learning is something that's important too. Yeah, change, slow, slight, but open to learning and the changes that come. And that's what makes Oprak interesting. I'll leave it there today. I hope you enjoyed learning about Oprak. Again, this is the canonical ending to Ironfang Invasion. I went through some of it. I didn't dive super deep into the full history of Ironfang Invasion, which I kind of could have if I wanted to. But again, that's really heavy spoilers then, so I wasn't necessarily going to do that. It's adventures, build up a militia, eventually to convince them to, form a nation and stop the war. Canonical ending. If you want to see more of my stuff, remember to check me out on YouTube. That's where all these videos end up on, if you can't join me live. But if you can join me live, I would love to have you. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays are my days where I do these tabletop videos. Thursdays are all the Pathfinder videos on one day. I have a live play Pathfinder 1st Edition on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Crimson Queen. Check that out. And of course, Tabletop Discussion Show on Saturdays, which is a show/podcast, 6 p.m. discussing tabletop. I have social medias linked below, and that's all my shout-outs for my stuff that so you can check out. I would say go check out my Hobgoblin video if you haven't checked that one already out, as a linking to this one. They do mention parts of Oprak, but I kind of keep it separate because it is a separate thing from it, They are two different things. This is a nation formed of them, and maybe a future that's very interesting for the Hobgoblin. Anyway, until the next time we chat, we'll talk about any of these topics, I bid you all out there a deep and wonderful farewell.